The circuit, Paul Ricard, Le Castellet, has always had a bit of a clinical feel about it right from the start. When it came onto the Grand Prix calendar back in the 70s, it was this weird new Twilight Zone world of massive runoff areas, everything brand new, huge pit complex, all financed by Monsieur Paul Ricard, as it happened. Anyway, it does have this clinical feel to it, and after Austria, that's how it felt today in 2022. Very clinical two sessions we had, FP1 and FP2 on the Friday. Nothing dramatic happening at all, apart from the news that Carlos Sainz, who was brilliant all day, really quick in the Ferrari, will be starting with a 10-place grid penalty. Don't get me started on that, because I think it is completely iniquitous, this business of the drivers being penalised with grid positions through something mechanical like a turbo or a control electric unit, as they call it. Anyway, a 10-place grid penalty, and whether despite that or because of that, Carlos looked very good all day. A couple of moments, as he does, with his relatively sharp turn-in, but whenever he was out there, really, really quick. And we'll have a look at the times in a minute. In FP1, FP2, light fuel and heavy fuel, we can do an analysis as best we can. So in terms of Ferrari versus Red Bull, what did we see today? Well, we saw Charles Leclerc very quick, light fuel and heavy fuel, but Max Verstappen almost as quick, but mega quick in a straight line in the Red Bull, like 10 kilometers an hour quicker than the Ferrari. It's a while since we've seen a speed differential like that, but there it was right from the start of FP1. Max Verstappen up in the 333s and everybody else in the 320s. I say everybody else who was reasonably quick. So just astonishing speed, and that backed up by Sergio Perez and the other Red Bulls. So this was not a misreading or anything like that. It was just consistently quick down the straight all the time. And you could see at any given moment of either session, if you plugged into the sector times, the Red Bull's always quick in Sector 2, which of course is where the top speed counts the most. But I thought it was really interesting after his first soft tire run in FP2, when Max had done a 33.0 to Carlos's 32.5, that Carlos did that on his second run, and so Max would have seen that, and Charles Leclerc was just a little bit slower on his second run, 32.6. So Max, normally at this stage, Red Bull would say, no, let's focus on the race. Let's get more fuel in the car again. They did a good run in the morning as well and get out there. But I thought it was really brave that they put out on the radio, and Red Bull presumably allowed that to go out, Max saying to his engineer, no, I want to have another run on the soft tire. I don't want to start P2, P3. And this is something we've been saying, that Max, he was on the pole in Austria, but there were a few mitigating circumstances, obviously, with the Ferraris. And in terms of the pole and being super quick and getting that run into the first corner, perhaps even over the first few laps, it's always been Charles Leclerc and or Carlos Sainz. So Max, obviously, that's starting to get to him a little bit. So he wanted a second run on the soft tyres, and guess what? He didn't go any quicker. And that will not be good news for Max in terms of going into qualifying tomorrow and the confidence he needs to go out and get the pole. So let's look at the times in a little bit more detail, remembering that qualifying tomorrow is at 4 o'clock local, whereas FP1 today was at 2 o'clock local and FP3 was at 5 o'clock local. So not a lot of correlation there. And it's important to note, I think, that the track temperature, if not the ambient temperature, the track temperature dropped considerably, about 8 degrees between the two sessions today. It was a little bit cooler in the afternoon. So let's have a look at what happened in FP1 today when they went out on their light fuel runs, just to get a setup of the car. Lewis Hamilton not driving for this session, his place taken by the Mercedes test driver Nick de Vries, who did a pretty good job, and as Lewis said, he didn't damage the car. I guess that was the important thing. And I was quite impressed actually that Lewis was there at the track with the headset on watching. I thought he'd be by the swimming pool or something at the hotel. Anyway, that's just me being facetious. Yeah, Charles Leclerc 33.9, Max 34.0, but look at the top speed difference. As I said, Leclerc 3.21 in the Ferrari, Max 3.34 in the Red Bull, consistently quick in a straight line. Carlos Sainz backing up that top speed of Charles Leclerc 3.21, and both George Russell and Nick de Vries showing that the Mercedes is now much quicker in a straight line than it was at the start of the year relative to its nearest opposition. Upgrades on all the cars at Ricard, everybody hoping they've got a game, but of course the whole grid is moving up, as George Russell said after qualifying. And Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo looking pretty good in the McLaren Mercedes, a little bit down on top speed compared with the Mercedes now. An interesting development that we can confirm that we've basically been seeing over the last few races, but here it is showing up at Ricard. And a very good lap, I thought, by Alex Albon in the Williams Mercedes, 335.4, 323, right up there with the McLaren. So that new shape on the Williams, that longer side pod, which we first saw on his car at Silverstone, now also on the Nicholas Latifi car, giving them this bigger sweet spot from circuit to circuit, and that car starting to look very good. I think that raises the question of whether or not Mercedes are looking at that and thinking, is this the route we need to go? Or will they be looking at that and thinking, our low drag, high downforce, zero pod car is working for us because look what we're doing, 327 in a straight line compared with Albon 323, and we're quicker over the lap. So interesting decision-making process at Mercedes, I think, in the next couple of weeks about where they're going to go with that car. Now let's have a look and see what happened on the fuel runs in FP1 with the track temperature at 58, ambient at 30. Beautiful at Ricard today, blue sky, bit of wind, crowd loving it. Max Verstappen, look at that run, 37.9, 38.7, 38.6, 39.8. I say look at that, just compare it with Charles Leclerc, and he did those 3 laps, but you can just see how consistently quick Max is. This is on the soft tyres. Carlos Sainz didn't get into the 38s, 39.2, 39.8, 39.7, 39.8, but at least the tyre wasn't going off with him. He did a slightly longer run. He was out first in FP1 with the fuel load. That's how organised his side of the garage was today. I suppose we got all the bits changed on the car now. We've got to try and qualify 11th, if nothing else. So that's what they'll be doing, clean side of the road, of course, if they do that. Sergio Perez had a messy day, had a couple of spins early on. As you can see, didn't really get it together on fuel either. He's not really on the max pace in the morning. Looked a little bit better in the afternoon, but you can see the top speeds with the fuel load on the car, 313, 318, maxing 313, 314, and the Ferraris, none of them over 300 at all with fuel in the car. As we saw in the afternoon, Ferrari did seemingly take off some wing and they picked up some top speed, but that's where they were in FP1 this morning. And again, Alex Albon, the only driver of note to run the hard tyre this morning. Not too bad. Look at that consistency, 40.1, 40.5, 40.7, and a tyre not going off. So you're probably going to see that tyre in the race on Sunday. So he's doing 302. He's over 300 as well in the Williams. Interesting, I think, if you compare that with Fernando Alonso in the Alpine. Admittedly, he only did 1 lap with fuel in the car, 1 proper lap. But the Williams now quicker in a straight line than the Alpine in France at Ricard, which is a surprise, given how quick, for example, the Alpines were in Montreal. So they've probably gone down the road of, we got to get more downforce in this car. We've got too much excess top speed, if you like. And George Russell also over 300 with the Williams. I think that 323 is a toe, but 302 is more realistic of what he was doing. So that was FP1. And then FP2, let's have a look at what happened in the light fuel runs there. This was when Max Verstappen said he wanted another go. I think he was a bit blown away by that 32.5 of Carlos Sainz, and indeed the 32.6 of Charles Leclerc. And he will be thinking, I'm Max Verstappen, I'm world champion. What is going on? Why am I half a second off the pace? And it is because he's not doing as many runs on these soft tyres in these sorts of sessions. And that's why he wanted to push for that. But it didn't pay off today. And as I say, that may come back to bite him tomorrow. We'll wait and see, obviously. But Carlos Sainz, 32.5 on his second run on the soft tyres, really good, 3.28. Charles Leclerc, 32.6. He'll be really happy with that, 3.27, bearing in mind, of course, that Carlos has the 10-place grid penalty. And then Max Verstappen, look at that. What are the odds doing a 133 and a top speed of 333 kilometres an hour? I would say 1 billion to 1. Has that ever happened before in the history of Formula One? Amazing, eh? Anyway, P3, but, not much quicker than George Russell in the Mercedes, who's, 3.26 in a straight line, almost 10 kilometres an hour slower, but only 0.2 slower over the lap. So that shows that Max, he did say a lot of understeer in Sector 1. Sector 3, he always looked a little bit oversteery as well, I thought, but you couldn't really see the understeer in Sector 1 about which he spoke. I guess he's just driving through the understeer and allowing for it, but it's not giving him the front end that he would want. So it'll be interesting to see if Red Bull, Adrian Newey, get on top of that problem for tomorrow. I suspect they will. George Russell, 33.2. And Lewis, playing down his performance a little bit when he spoke afterwards, it was a bit difficult. But I thought that was a really good job he did there, 33.5 with the light fuel. Didn't do many laps. He only did about 3 flying laps on the soft tyre. And to be only 3/10 slower than George is, well, you can almost argue that's where he normally is anyway. No, shouldn't say that. He's been going very well recently. He probably would have been within a tenth, I guess. So he's lost about 2/10 because of the Nick de Vries thing this morning. You know, about the same in a straight line. And Mercedes will be thinking, well, 4th and 5th, half a chance we might be able to beat Carlos Sainz if there's any sort of skirmish at the first corner or whatever. They'll be eyeing up, obviously, that sort of position, maybe a podium finish for Mercedes. But Lando Norris really good, 33.6, 3.27 in a straight line now. So they've taken wing off the McLaren or done something there, maybe raised the ride height a little bit or done something without losing too much on the lap. And they're right there with the factory Mercedes in terms of top speed in FP2. Pierre Gasly looking very good as well in the Alpha Tauri. So Kevin Magnussen, really good job in the Haas. Daniel Ricciardo, 33.9 also, 3.25. A little bit slower in a straight line than Lando, but nothing unusual there. And Sergio Perez, again, slightly detuned, 34.0. But look at that top speed, 3.35 in the Red Bull, amazing. And then Fernando Alonso, 3.23. Again, you know, nothing like as quick as they normally are in the Alpines. 34.2. Most interesting thing I thought about the Alpines, we were on board with Fernando going into Scene and, well, doing the lap actually, and they're not getting 8th gear. I couldn't believe it. They're not getting 8th gear around Ricard. So where are they getting 8th gear? I guess for Monza. So watch out for Monza, top speed for the Alpines when they get there. They can't change ratios, of course. So, you know, that to me was staggering. But yeah, 7th gear all along that straight into Scene. And speaking of Scene, when we were on board with Max on the soft tyre run, he was going into Scene without lifting. He was going just over 300 kilometres an hour, about 303, and then coming down to about 299 on exit, just scrubbing off a little bit of speed through Scene. So that's what, 182 miles an hour? Yeah, gets your attention. And Valtteri Bottas, who also sat out the first session, did a good job. Like Lewis, just got into the car and went well, 34.2, 3.22. And I think won the award today for the most outstanding headgear at Ricard. Definitely good to see a driver wearing a non-team sponsored chapeau and doing something for the racetrack. Very nice to see. So that was the light fuel run. Let's have a look at FP2 fuel runs now. This is the real business end of FP2 and really what this whole day has been all about. You can see there, it looks like Charles Leclerc did the most number of laps. You see how organised Ferrari are now in terms of doing these long runs. Think back to Miami where they didn't do any runs at all, long runs that is. Now look at them. Everybody on the medium tyre, as I say this morning, they were on the soft, apart from Alex Albon, but now they're on the medium. But again, Max Verstappen, 37.3, 37.8, 37.9. There's 4, and then he ends with a 37.7, and he's doing comfortably 3.17. So he's doing 4 laps under 38. And then look at Ferrari. Sainz does 1 lap under 38, and they never get over 300, apart from that last lap of Sainz, which presumably was a tow. And the same for Charles Leclerc, a couple of toes in there as well, I think. But he does one lap again in the 37s, and everything else is the 38. So if Ferrari look at that, they're thinking we're slow in a straight line, and the Red Bull looks really quick. With a full load of fuel. So our best chance tomorrow is to be on the pole and see whether we can control the pace of the race around what we want to run and make it difficult for Max to get past. So if Max is on the pole, I think from the evidence we see there and from FP1, he's just going to disappear with a heavy fuel load. Sergio Perez got his act together a little bit more, 37.9. That looks a little bit more Max Verstappen-ish, 38.4. 38.5. He only did those 4 laps, but again, very quick in a straight line relative to the Ferraris, and I don't think you see much of a tow going on there for him. Let's have a look now at what Mercedes are doing. George Russell said he felt they were closer to the opposition with a fuel load than they were on light fuel. And I suppose if you're looking at the Ferraris, what he says is absolutely right, because he's doing a 38.7, 38.6, 38.1. They could have been taken straight out of Charles or Carlos Sainz's lap runs there, but with a top speed advantage as well. So looking pretty good. Obviously, compared with Max, though, there's a big gap. Of course, what we don't know is how much that will take out of the medium tyre with Max and the Red Bull. And maybe we'll see what we saw in Austria. With the car has so much grip and so much energy going through it to do that sort of lap time that it is going to destroy the tyres deg the tyres more than it will those on the Ferraris. But that's again a question that Red Bull will definitely be looking at that after what happened in Austria. And this is still a big question mark. Did something change in the diffuser area on the Red Bull in Austria on Max's car? Was it a strip-off visor or a piece of plastic or something like that wasn't in the car after he did the slowdown lap into the pits? Or is it something to do with the amount of energy they're just putting through that car now? Lewis Hamilton on his run, 38.7, 38.7, 39, 39. Yeah, slightly slower than George, but there or thereabouts. And he'll be what he will be. He'll be okay in terms of where they are relative to Ferrari, but he'll be demoralised by how quick the Red Bulls are on the fuel load. Lando Norris, 39.3, 39.3. I mean, they're not doing Mercedes times with fuel, but not bad, and they're about there or thereabouts with top speed, it would seem. Pierre Gasly, you could say the same thing, slightly slower on average probably than the McLarens right now, particularly in top speed, interestingly. And then let's look at Fernando Alonso in the big French hope, the Alpine, obviously. And Esteban Ocon also going quite well in the car today, no real dramas. Fernando, 39s, but you can see a distinct trail of deg there on the way the car's using the medium tyre. And they're consistently under 300 kilometres an hour, which is a surprise, really. I think a lot of us were thinking and imagining that Alpine were going to this race with, their one big card as their top speed, but that's gone. But having said that, look, there's a lot of consistency there, I guess, from Fernando, you can say, and a lot of good hard work as well. So we'll see whether that pays off tomorrow. See you then.
When you put your hand in my jacket, I'm thinking so irrational. You flew me international now. And we can spend hours reading the signals, but that's so unoriginal. What if we took this back to my house? Under all these lights, I gotta take a minute.